Hello and welcome everyone to today's session, Guided Life Meditation from Promise to Practice. I will just give it a few moments for others to also join. In the meanwhile, if someone could please indicate in the chat box if you're able to hear properly, if the sound is good. If all right, on Instagram they say that they can hear well. Somebody from Facebook also, if you're able to. All right, so thank you for your confirmations and a very good morning. This is Kanupriya joining from Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center of the Brahma Kumaris in New York, in America. And it's very early morning hours here. Today the clocks have changed. So, so it's a new day, new season is coming up. After all the snow and the winter here, we are looking forward to move into new season and spring. So, today's topic is from promise to practice. And let us start with asking this question. Now we are in March, right? Already almost 2.5 to 3 months since the time we made a lot of promises to ourselves, right? When New Year comes, there is like a wave of resolutions that we make for ourselves. We want to change things for ourselves, right? And especially during this very unique year, 2020, we were looking for a change very much, isn't it? So let me ask this very simple question. Now, after 2 months, 2.5 months, how many of us stuck with the promises and resolutions that we made just a few months back? How many? You can type on the chat box also, but I was checking for myself. And probably very few of us may have actually stuck to whatever promise and resolution we may have made. So let us look at it a little bit more closely. That, when we made these promises to, maybe the promise may be about changing for the better, for the self changing something, some habit, or, some negative habit, or something that we wanted to do better for some others who are important to us in our lives. Some promise that we made, right? Related to relationships or self. And we were full of enthusiasm when we made that promise. And with great determination, we made those promises, right? That yes, we will do it. We will make the change. We will put the promise to practice. So, just for like an example, let's take this habit of getting angry. So, for example, we made a promise that we, in this new year or from now on, we will not get angry. Come what may, we will not get angry. I do not like anger, and it makes me feel stressed and anxious, and I panic. I don't feel good. Makes my heart palpitate. So, I want to be peaceful and calm always. So today we have made this promise with great determination, enthusiasm. And the next moment in the house, the most expensive thing that I have in the house, somebody comes and pushes that thing off the table and it breaks. Then another situation may come, somebody, my neighbor or someone, my friend may just call me or come and say very, very insulting things about me. And then what happens? I just made the promise, but now these situations have come. So I start to feel that in this situation, anger is justified. There is no other choice that I have but to get angry. Especially in situations like these, or even if we are working in office or in our families or with friends, sometimes we feel that if we do not raise our voice, then everybody will just bully over me. I will be seen as weak. Just everybody will run over all over all over me. So we feel that little bit of anger is justified. Sometimes, depending on the situations, right, it is justified. Am I correct? That we have to get angry. Is that correct? Is it possible to not get angry at whatever is happening, in spite of whatever is happening? Is it possible? Can somebody raise their hand or indicate? And this is just an example I'm taking of one of the promise, but it's possible for any promise that we made. So let us ask this question, that if we do not want to get angry, we have made that promise, do we love to get angry? Is that why we are getting angry? And if we look at our behavior or our chart, if we were to keep like a journal or a file of the promises that we made and our behavior after we made the promise, we actually will find that sometimes we do fall in love with anger. We are very clever, yeah? No? We tell ourselves that we will be peaceful, not get angry, but in this file of promises that I have made to myself and all others, this year, last year, whenever, in all these years, that that paper of not getting angry is just like sitting in that file very safely and securely, and nothing has been done about it. And then we may look at that file of promises, and we find ourselves taking pride in that file, that look how many promises I made in all these years. But we also feel, we can see and check for ourselves that we did not fulfill, we did not put in practice those promises. And why? When we look at it, we didn't want to get angry, but the situation was such that there was no choice but to get angry. We felt helpless. We tell others that, if you would have been in the situation that I was in, then you also would have gotten angry. And there is no way that anybody wouldn't have gotten angry in that situation. So now the question is that when we want to put these promises into practice, how do we do that? And our intention and our thoughts to bring about a change and make a promise are very benevolent, yeah, well founded. We have that very nice, good intention about ourselves. But later on, because there is some kind of weakness we experience in our thoughts are actually not able to be stable in that promise that we made. There is some weakness that creeps in. And why does that weakness creep in? There is just one word why that weakness creeps in. And that word is, any guesses? Anyone would like to? Hmm? So that one word is, and spiritual wisdom tells us this, that one word why we are, that is stopping us from fulfilling our promises and bringing it into practice, is that word I, me. Whatever I did, whatever I said, whatever I thought, that is what is right. So there is one side of the I and me, that there is some kind of arrogance, we will say, that whatever I'm doing is right. And the second is at the other end, when there is this kind of identification with I, and we look at, what this identification of I and me means. The other end is it makes us feel weak. So when we are, not able to fulfill what we promise to ourselves and to others, then it makes us feel very disheartened and hopeless. We feel guilty, and that is what brings about weakness in our thoughts. And there is, when that happens, when we are not able to fulfill, then there is this little voice inside us that tells us, see, you can't do it. I told you in the beginning that not getting angry is just not possible. So it makes us feel down and disheartened. So this ego of I, and I'll explain what this ego of I and me means, makes us one, at one end of the pendulum, feel very arrogant about things that we are doing, promises that we are able to fulfill, and at the other end, it is making us feel very weak. So there is like a pendulum that is going on because we are just swinging on that pendulum of the false I or ego. And what is this false I and ego? So this false I and ego is nothing but false identification. By identification, we mean that we have started to actually see ourselves as something that we truly are not. And spiritual wisdom tells us that we all are this living, conscient being of light who looks like just a tiny point of light. And this tiny point of light has now started to identify itself with the role or the character that, in my case, Kanupriya is playing. So the soul, this point of light, has started to think that Kanupriya is me. So whatever Kanupriya says and does is right. If Kanupriya is not able to fulfill the promise, then feel disheartened. So if we were to actually come into the true awareness of the true I, the real I, the true self, then we will be able to have that strength in our promises to be able to fulfill our promise. And in our meditation today, we will be looking at how to drop this false I and this false ego, the false identity. One way is to look at it from an angle of a detached observer. And one example that really, one practice that really helps here personally is, we all go to movies and films. Hmm? And nowadays it's Netflix that we watch all our movies and films. So, just like how we watch as an audience the movie and the film, and we see the characters on the screen as just characters that they are playing out their role, we do not start to believe that we are the character. Hmm? We are just watching the film, the character, and the movie is going on. So it creates this kind of detached observer state. So let us start to meditate. It will become more clear when we practice it in meditation. So, like always, just sit back in a very relaxed position. Sitting position is good. Any sort of sitting position where your back is straight and mind is alert. And let us try to keep our eyes open if possible, and just rest the gaze in front of you at a fixed point very gently. This helps in concentration. And just acknowledge everything around you that is there. And take a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, just relax the body. And now we prepare ourselves to take this journey inwards. This journey connects us with the true self, the point of light, who's aware that he is an audience watching a movie. Just like we watch a movie, say Superman movie. Now, this true self, the audience, is watching the movie of Kanupriya in my case. Just like the audience sees Superman as a mere character of the movie, there are many other characters in the movie. There is Mary Jane, there is the mean monster, many characters in the movie. Superman is just one character. Similarly, the true self, the point of light, whose the audience can see, the movie of Kanupriya and the character of Kanupriya as just a role, a character that is played in this movie. And there are other characters in the movie. There are friends of Kanupriya. There are other relationships of Kanupriya. There is the boss and colleagues and so many things in that movie. But the soul, the audience, is just a detached observer of this movie. Now, just as in the movie of Superman, there are so many things that happen with Superman. There is this relationship of love with Mary Jane, and the mean monster is trying to take away Mary Jane from Superman. It's trying to burn the whole city, and Superman is coming, flying to save Mary Jane and the whole city. Just what is the value of this? All these scenes just meant for entertainment, fun. These scenes are made to make the movie interesting. If there was no mean monster, then the movie wouldn't be interesting. Similarly, now when the soul, the audience, is watching the movie of Kanupriya, there may be situations which are not so nice, and other situations which are good. But everything for this audience, the soul, the point of light, is a part of the movie. Everything is meant for entertainment, fun. This is because the true self, the soul, is awake to his reality. The truth that he is just this point of light. He knows that he's eternal and immortal. He knows of his world beyond. Just like the audience who's watching the Superman story, they know that they have a home back there. They will go back home when the movie is over, finished, the end. Similarly, the soul who's awake to his reality knows of his home, the true home, the world of light. He's awake to his family in the true home. His family consists of his true parent, the supreme being of light. And there are other points of light who are like brothers. All of them look like points of light. And the soul is able to just see everything in the movie as a movie, not identifying, not creating an ego based on the character that is being played. The character has a part, a role to play, and that role will end when the movie ends. His home and his world, his real world, is much bigger. And he knows that he's beyond harm. In this true home, there is nothing that can harm him. The soul who's awake to his reality can see the pettiness of the movie. This is a free movie. No need to buy any ticket. No need to pay subscription to Netflix. This movie comes free. Free entertainment. The awake soul is absolutely secure in the company of the Supreme Being. He knows of his immortality. His true home is timeless, changeless, and eternal. It is subtle, cannot be seen with these eyes. And the original experience of the soul who's awake is that of peace, happiness, joy. There is true love because he's able to see the movie as a movie. And so, when we make promises, we make these promises for the self to experience and remind ourselves of our original qualities: peace, happiness, love, joy, bliss. We can be stable in these promises and put it into practice the moment we connect with the true self. And look at everything that happens in the movie like a detached observer and audience. Just take a moment to watch current scene of the movie right now like a detached audience. Thank you for joining today, and there are some questions. So, someone is asking if there is difference between being angry and being assertive. Yes, definitely, right? We are doing what we are supposed to be doing, but the space that we are doing it from, our internal state of mind, when we are responding to a situation, is completely different when we are in a state of anger and when we want to make a point and be assertive. So we are not saying that we don't make our point, but if it were to come from a state of being peaceful and calm and knowing that it is just a part of the movie, the world of the soul is completely different from this movie. It would be, the response would be very, very different. All right, so hope you have a very good day or evening, depending on the time zone that you're joining from. And from now on, I really wish you all that we all are able to put our promises into practice. Thank you, and bye bye.